Hi. It's not nearly that formal. Yeah, okay, relax. Hi, there we go. All right, everybody's happy. Welcome to Dearborn. We haven't been here since, was it NANOG 13?
Yes. Whoa.
And the hotel was a lot different then, but, you know, it is. Smuse, you're looking at me funny. What's up? Yeah. It looks different, except from the outside, it's still, you still see where the rotating restaurant used to be. It is it still there?
Enjoy on
Tuesday, excellent, wonderful. So thanks everybody for coming to Dearborn, and thanks for coming to the community meeting. I know some of the sessions are still rolling on, and thanks for caring to actually show up. It is always a pleasure to stand up here and have to present some stuff, though we're going to, as always, this is an engaged, and trying to be a little more engaged with everybody here, so the mics are open and live, and you should stand up and say that somebody's full of crap if they're full of crap, just like in a regular NANOG meeting. But we are trying to not be just talking heads giving statistics, because in case you forgot, this is an election meeting. And so later on in this session, we're going to have the candidates for the SC actually stand up and have a couple of minutes to say why you should bother to vote for them. Typical agenda. I am Joe Provo. If you don't know me, hi. You'll know me by the end of the meeting. I'll present the steering committee report, then we'll have Dave giving the program committee, Kris, MLC, Patrick will do the marketing, merit report will be from Betty, and then that'll segue into the election process, and Steve will be handling some of the charter changes. And we will close, as I said, with the SC candidate statements. Again, reminder, the mics are live. This is your meeting. Go up and cause a ruckus if a ruckus is deserved. So I'm just going to kind of zip through some of these things just because, like I said, we need to leave time for the candidates to talk. Steering committee, people standing with the blue badges. If you're not up here, stand. Steering committee people, blue badges. There's Jared, there's RS, Betty, Steve, Kris, Patrick, Dave. Chris Morrow is somewhere in the building. He's probably at the NSPSEC session right now. And me, hi. Highlights of work since NANOG 46. The elusive network experiment policy finally got agreement. The changes suggested from the community and worked out with Merit, and it should be posted on the site. It is? Yeah? All right, good. So the key things being that any network experiment participation is voluntary by NANOG attendees. It's not going to be foisted on anybody. Data will be shared. And what was the other key thing? I think those are the two important ones. There were like, oh yeah, pre-planning and actually not showing up day of meeting and saying, hey, I want to do an experiment. Yeah, and we don't want more work on Merit. The full list of items, it's very short, is up on the site, and it includes like what you need to do to submit. So if you really wanted to get some data from all your colleagues in terms of network behavior and have something interesting to do that would be reasonable for the NANOG network to be an experimental test bed, then propose it before, I believe it's 3 months before the meeting. The annual Postel Scholarship was awarded, and I don't know if he's in the room. I have not seen him because we didn't sync up. And while there is still funding for a little bit, we, as a community, if we think we and the recipients have been gaining value, we need to consider how we should be putting more funding into the pot. Expect to hear more about that from the SC down the line. There is a partnership called the Operator Tomorrow Partnership that has been proposed and ratified by the SC, and we're working on the funding elements. And that is really as an outreach for educational institutions to get more of the younger next generation coming up actually involved in the NANOG community. Of course, preparation for this meeting and the work on future meetings. Austin, San Francisco, and Atlanta are finalized and published, and the next 3 are in the pipeline. Hopefully those 3 are all on your calendars. And of course, elections, I already mentioned. Candidates will have some minutes to talk. The SC and the charter ballot voting is open now, and so are the PC and MLC nominations. So get those nominations in if you know people who actually could help contribute to either the program or managing the mailing list. The obligatory slide of mailing list addresses, most important for this meeting, right at the top there, nominations at. I'm not going to read off the rest because I think you all can read. Dave.
I hope I don't have any slides. Oh, okay, I do. Sorry. Well, I thought about this on the plane today because I was going to make these slides, and I decided not to, mostly because I wanted to say a few things. One is, I mean, I could give you guys all the statistics. It's pretty dull. We got 47 talks. We accepted 80% of them. That's it. But what's really more important is that if you're, from the program committee perspective, if you're going to submit a talk, one of the big problems we have is people submit really great ideas, but they never give us any slides or even outline slides. So we have a hard time deciding whether or not we can accept things, and sometimes that goes wrong. So if you're going to propose a talk, or you know people who are proposing talks, what would really be helpful to us is if you got slides to us. I'm not going to give you any statistics because, as I said, it's really dull. The other thing I wanted to say was, if you know people who would be good for the PC, because a lot of people are rotating off the PC, I think roughly half. I mean, some are timing out, some are not re-upping, so roughly half. So it's going to be a big turnover. So the composition of the PC is going to change radically. So if you know people who would be good, as Joe said, for the PC, or that have kind of sort of a vision about what NANOG could be or should be and could be on the PC, that would be very helpful. The thing is that, you know, it does take some commitment, and, you know, people should know about that. But those were the main things I wanted to say. I don't want to take up a lot of time, but I did want to ask, let me say one other thing too, is that we have this process where we get the talks and then we all rate them, and then we rate, you know, based on the input that we get, which is generally slides. And this is where the not having the slides thing becomes difficult, but we rate them, and so we select them based on what information we have. And sometimes what happens is, and this has happened this time in particular, that we get like slides or updated slides very late, and it makes it difficult for us to select talks that maybe we think would be good. So get your stuff in early. And then the final thing I wanted to just say, because I want everybody to get to the social event, is you know, do people have questions for the program committee, how it operates, what it ought to be doing? Again, in the kind of sentiment that this is your meeting, that things that we should be looking at, things that we could do to make the meeting better. Anybody have anything like that? Go like this if you do. Or, you know, go to one of the mics. Oh, by the way, I was looking at Joe. Thanks. By the way, I was looking at Joe's slide about the mailing lists. I can't post to most of those myself, so, you know.
So you had said that you had submissions that weren't complete, but looked like they were going to be good talks. Why not move those to the lightning talks?
That's what we tried to do. That's exactly what we tried to do. In fact, it turned out, it's an excellent point. In fact, what turned out was a lot of the lightning talks would have been nice for general session, you know, but fortunately we have the space in the lightning talks to accommodate them, because the reality is at some point we have to assemble an agenda. And the lightning talks give us flexibility to kind of do exactly what you're saying. Louis.
Hey, Dave.
Hey, Louis.
Of the people that submitted the good topics, but didn't submit the slides, if I were them, I might not want to work on a nice big set of slides without knowing that my talk's going to get accepted. So did you all at least ask them for the outline?
Yeah, we do.
Okay.
We do, but there's varying degree. You know how many talks you've given, right? So you give the minimum amount you do the minimum amount of work you can do. At least I do. And I think that's what people do. And sometimes what I'm saying is sometimes if you just did a little bit more, it would help us out. Oh no, I'm getting a question from Ren. Is it a comment or a question?
This is a comment, not a question.
Thank you.
Sometimes we get topics that are very, very similar. And if we only have an abstract, it's very difficult to figure out if we could ask both parties to work together and either combine or one party to take the lead and the other party to contribute on the back end. This is why the slides are really key. Abstracts are great, but they're rather abstract.
What she said.
Yeah, and I'll just add.
Who are you, by the way?
I'm Todd Underwood. I'm a near future former program committee member. And I think for context, I'll add, this is a standoff, right? This is typically, it is really good presenters playing chicken with the program committee. And we all lose at that. But typically people are like, oh, I don't want to do the slides unless I'm going to get the talk accepted. And we're like, I'm not going to accept the talk unless you do the slides. So typically, if someone from the program committee says, this is a really good talk idea, a lot of people are interested in it, please do some slides, but we can't commit to accepting it. What that means is, if you do the slides, unless you're a complete doofus, your talk will probably be accepted, and so you should just do the slides. So the only other thing I'll comment is that frequently people will do slides that don't have any appreciable narrative at all to them, aside from the one that's in the person's head, which doesn't mean it's not going to be a good talk. It could be a great talk. But if it's not in the slides, if the narrative of the story isn't in the slides, there's no way somebody who doesn't know you and hasn't seen the talk given can judge the slides. So try to get some sort of, I am going to talk about this. It will be about this. Here are 6 subjects. Look, I have covered the 6 subjects. There's 5 pieces of data to come. I'll fill that in later because it's hard work and I don't want to do it after. That's fine, leaving specific slides empty, but it's not fine to just say, I'm going to talk about this. Please accept my talk. Oh, and yeah, so the other thing to remember is that one of the NANOG archives are hugely important, and tons of people spend a lot of time in the archives, and there's great material in there. And they won't typically, even though the presentations are archived, people won't typically take the time to watch the video of your presentation. Many people will, but most people won't. And so make sure that your presentation tells a story even without you giving that story. Thanks.
So I'm on to my last item. Ren and Todd, Joel and Sylvie, and I don't know who all the people who are Josh, who else? Josh Rodney Lane, blah, 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 blah. All these people, Josh Rodney Lane, all of these people have done a really great job for you guys over the years. And the NANOG program has been, largely or 100% engineered by these people. So I think, let's give them a round of applause. A lot of work being done by these people on behalf of the community.
Quick.
Yeah, so I'm Joel Yeagley. I thought I would abuse my prerogative as an outgoing PC member to make a few points. Those of us who are getting off this time, for the most part, have been around for two terms. And so with the exception of some folks like Steve Feldman, who are now sitting on the steering committee, and the merit participants, we're the ones who've been around since the new charter was created, so we have the institutional memory, and I think the rest of the community should have that. So, been around from the inception of the new charter to The PC internal process is fairly ad hoc. We do things on a consensus basis, but it's not arbitrary. That is, we do rely on precedent. There's been demonstrated to be willingness on the part of participants in the PC to alter the division of labor. So just because somebody did something in the past doesn't mean they'll do it in the future. We're responsive to SC input, or at least we have been, but we're not beholden to them. In theory, they can replace us. Unlike with the MLC, we've never actually managed to escalate something to the point where it became a crisis. In some respects, I'm actually disappointed by that. But you know, things are the way they are. One of the things that came out of the new charter and the way that the SC works and the way that the program committee works was an increased effort at transparency. So this results in minutes from our meetings, which don't discuss the merits of the individual presentations, but do discuss the themes that the program committee is interested in, the issues that we've raised with the steering committee, and things that we're thinking about for future program elements. So those don't get read by too many people, except Martin Hannigan, but you know, they are out there. Obviously, there are a few points of friction. Martin.
Martin Hannigan, Internet Golf Society, Chairman. I do not read the minutes anymore.
Okay. Thank you.
We appreciate that.
There have been some points of friction. For the most part, the PC is a relatively well-oiled machine, but sometimes it runs over stuff or breaks things. So one of the things that came out of the new charter process was some practical requirements driven by the community. Earlier availability of the agenda, because if you have the agenda earlier, you can go to your bosses earlier and request travel, you can make plans earlier, and so on. So that means the CFP is earlier, right after the meeting, in fact, and ability to respond to industry events, that is, things that happen between the two meetings. We have to really scramble if we want to fit them in. Whereas before, the program was only out 2-3 weeks before the meeting, you know, we had the luxury of actually altering it right up to the date where we put a stamp on it and called it good. So that actually took a considerable amount of effort. That means speeding up all of our processes. It means hounding you folks to make sure that you get your talks in early. And it means reduced flexibility. So there are definitely trade-offs associated with getting this process out earlier. I think we've been pretty successful, and I don't believe that the quality of the program has suffered as a result. In fact, I mean, I think we made very serious efforts to avoid that. Programming of joint activities. The program committee, oddly enough, thinks of itself as controlling the program. And when it comes to experiments or other programming challenges, the joint meeting with Aaron, or holding meetings outside North America, obviously we have to work more closely with the steering committee and with outside organizations. Aaron in particular is kind of hard to work with. I'm not sure why that is, but they run their meetings in a certain way, and we run ours in a certain way, and we actually have significant challenges there. So the future program committee gets to work on that a bit. Good luck. Distribution of ownership of repeating program elements and increasing depth in a bench. So one of the complaints that when I was early on the program was same people were responsible for the same things all the time. And not that I don't like Bill Norton. I love his jokes. But I think the peering BOF is much more successful now because it has multiple people involved in running it. And I hope that Bill is back and involved in that over time. But that's something that we need to do with all the elements. Inclusiveness, again, this is bringing in new people, whether it's through the newcomers meeting, which is a new program element, or getting more people involved in running BOFs. These are things that the program committee has been very interested in. So, big wins. Lightning talks, everybody loves those. The big secret is they also allow us to move program elements around because they're not pre-scheduled. So that means we get the agenda early out with items on it, and we can still tweak it up to the last minute. The peering track, I think I like the new format. I think lots of other people do too. I think it's a little bit more inclusive than it used to be. Newcomers, Ren was really the champion of this. In fact, she paid for it, or Comcast did. But Ren actually made the newcomers work the first 2 times, and now it's become an institution. So that was a serious win for this program committee. And I think the program quality has gotten better. And I don't think that's necessarily to cast down on the abilities of the previous program committees, but we really tried pretty hard on this, and it was a serious element of what we were trying to produce. So, thanks.
Thanks, Joel.
Thanks, Joel.
Hi, I'm Kris Foster. I'm the chair of the mailing list committee. There's several other people involved in it. We only have one of the mailing list committee members, Randy Epstein over there. We have, Sue Joyner. Where's Sue?
There she is.
Hey.
Hi, Sue.
Steve Feldman is the steering committee liaison, so he doesn't actively participate in the mailing list committee, but acts as a resource for us. Simon is out in New Zealand, so he doesn't really come here very often. And Tim Yoakum, I don't believe, is here. Since the last meeting, the major update to the mailing list committee was the publication of our thread moderation policy. This is something that people have asked for, and we're continuing to use, and I think we've been fairly successful at it. But you can read the policy at the URL there, and if you have feedback on any of the policies, please bring them up on NANOG Futures. Futures has been pretty quiet lately. Since the last meeting, not much has changed. We've been very light-handed. We've relied on thread moderation policy rather than poking at individual people, especially when threads get completely out of control. September numbers were actually higher. I got them just shortly after the slides were put together. We're at 10,448 subscribers. So it's a lot of people on there. It's growing. The number of posts actually went down in September, 651. So the level of posts hasn't really changed, but the number of subscribers has increased. So it's just something that we all need to keep in mind. We're reaching a fairly large audience when posting. We have 2 seats for sure opening up on the mailing list committee, and we're looking for people to get involved. I think there's some interesting things that could be coming up if you take a look at the charter amendments that Steve Feldman will go over later. And finally, I'm really interested in those of you that don't read, subscribe, or post to the list. If you can fill out the survey, and in the section where we ask why you don't use it or any comments on it, can you give me some sort of feedback? We can probably do some things to make it better for you. That's all the things I wanted to go over. Does anyone want to bring anything up with me? Apparently not. Anyways, thank you.
And so a big thank you for those who have hosted us in the past, hosted NANOG. Certainly a big thank you to Lisa from Arbor Networks in working with us and all the staff there. It's been a wonderful process. It's been very, very rewarding for me personally to bring all of you back to Michigan. I know when we talked a while ago about NANOG 47 in Michigan, there were some folks who said, in Michigan? Do we really want to go back there? And so for all of you that have came back to Michigan and helped us out here in the state, a big thank you. I really do appreciate it. Contributors and sponsors, as Patrick had indicated, helping with the registration fees and the fees for the conference, or keeping the registration fees down, I should say, and helping with the expenses of the conference, are all of these contributors and sponsors. We really couldn't do it without them. So a really, really big thank you for everyone who's on this list who came forward with either volunteer help at no cost and or with actual dollars. Is something that we're truly grateful for, and I hope that all of you extend a thank you to them. This is the time for me to also acknowledge that this meeting could not take place without the Merit staff on site and the support from the Merit leadership. While NANOG is important to Merit, it's not a big part of our core business. So all of the staff that are here, the network engineers, the video engineers, the registration staff, they have other jobs as well at Merit that are part of us being a regional network provider to our R&E community. And they are as dedicated as each and every one of you are to the vision and the purpose of NANOG. So I really do like to take a time here to acknowledge all of their support. We really could not do this without them. So again, as you see them in the hallways, they start next week with planning for the next meeting for you. There's a bunch of work that they do on your behalf, and we really appreciate them. Also, as part of being back in Michigan, we are very excited for the first time in some time that a number of our university partners, as many of you know, Merit Network is a community organization, and in fact, we're owned by the public universities in the state of Michigan. And many times they don't have an opportunity to come and join the NANOG community and see what we really do. But because you're here in Michigan, we have a number of members from our community, from our higher ed institutions, and I'd like to acknowledge and thank them for their engagement and involvement as well. I'm not going to go through all of this, but you can see that the attendee list is online. We had a request to be able to create a sort of the attendee list, making it easier for you to find each other. And we also have a way to update it dynamically and delete some issues if we need to, but the attendee list is online, and it's amazing to me how many people really look at years past and meeting trends from the attendee list. So we're paying a lot more attention to that list at Merit. Attendance stats, they're available on the meeting, or on the meeting website. Those are also very important in terms of trending data. We look at them at Merit. Certainly the SC and the PC look at those when we're planning out venues. The meeting stats are really the forecaster that we at Merit need to look at when we're making hotel reservations and contracts on your behalf. One of the pushes from the community is to schedule these meetings far in advance, which we're trying to do, but it's very difficult sometimes to anticipate how much space we're going to need or not need to respond to the program. So we're all working together, the SC, the PC, and the community on your behalf. Just background piece of how it works in those stats. Meeting survey, critically important. I start pushing out requests for changing the survey, and are we asking the right questions from the community? Please do take time and look at previous surveys and responses, and take time to complete the survey for this meeting. It's really important, and we have slipped in a few extra questions for you. We're looking for your feedback and it's your time to tell us in writing what you think. The next slide, always a part of my reporting here at the community meeting, is the financial report for the meeting and for us, year-end reports. We just came through an audit process internally, and we're getting ready at Merit for our external auditors that we do annually. So I have year-end report data for you. NANOG 46 in Philly, here are the numbers. We took in $289,455 in revenue. We had expenses of $278,585.70, broken out in those categories, with the NANOG 46 meeting balance of a positive $10,869.30. So that was a good deal. We were a little worried. Philly is a wonderful place. The survey results showed that you all loved it. We had a great program, but it is one of the more expensive cities for us to host a NANOG meeting with a hotel contract and such. So that $10,000 was a good number for us. The year-end audit, internal audit information indicates that when we did a re-audit of NANOG 44 and NANOG 45 expenses, there was a difference in what we reported to all of you in the community slides of $3,512. We actually lost a little bit of revenue in the audit process, and in large part that was due to unpaid registrations. One of the things that I try really hard to do is get financial data out to the SC and to all of you in the community. But what we're doing is counting on those who registered and indicated they would pay by check when they arrived, or other types of situations. They were going to present, but they didn't present, and they owed us a registration fee and so forth. We carry them as paying when I report the numbers to you, but in fact, they actually at the end of the year didn't pay. So we have to take that encumbered amount back out of the budget lines that I had reported to you. And so that's exactly what that difference is. And what it means that for the total year-end, Merit's budget ends in June. And so for the total period, which would be the fall meeting, the winter meeting, and the June meeting, there was a positive $47,853.84 in the account. Anybody have questions before I go on? Sure.
I would run down there, but I'm lazy. So, as a community member, what is Merit going to do with this $47,853.84? Does it pay for the corporate jet, or extra food, or what?
No, it doesn't do any of those things. I would love a corporate jet sometime, Steve, but no, that amount stays into an account balance, a carry-forward balance for NANOG, and it is actually an insurance policy for the 6 or 7 future contracts that we write for hotel contracts. So there has to be a reserve in the account, which there is. This is just the year-end reserve to cover those contracts should something go wrong.
That was actually going to be my question. Is this the fiscal year
Yes.
positive? So what's the total account balance?
I don't have that in front of me right now, but I'll be sure to post it on the website.
Okay, excellent. Thanks.
Yep.
And Joel Yeagley, you said you carry like 5 hotel contracts out in the future?
Yeah, I think we have 3 right now that we have signed, and we have another 3 underway.
So if your positive balance is like $50K, that's like 5 or 6 to 1 leverage. Awesome. That makes you, that puts you in line with a savings and loan, but, but not an actual publicly traded bank.
Yeah, no, it's
Joel,
that 50,000 wouldn't even be enough to cover 1 hotel contract. So,
Joel, you're not saying Merit is a hedge fund, are you?
No, if they hedge, they need to go 60 to 1.
Yeah. All right. Leading to the last slide in the community report is that question about future meetings. NANOG 48 in February. And again, these are posted on the website in terms of the confirmed meetings. We have not posted the unconfirmed meetings, but I do like to try to share that with the community, again, with a sense of transparency and planning. so you're just aware. On the website, NANOG 48 in Austin, Texas, NANOG 49 in San Francisco, NANOG 50 in Atlanta. In NANOG 50 in Atlanta, again, will be a back-to-back meeting with Aaron. NANOG 51 in February, we're working with Terramark. Possibly in Miami, we have a hotel contract, but with this meeting, we just simply have not had the time to ink the contract. We have a commitment from Terramark. Josh has been a great supporter of NANOG and Terramark as well, so we'd like to make this work. We just have to get back to Ann Arbor and have some time to ink that contract. NANOG 52, June 2011. I just am still amazed that we're talking about 2011. We need a host. I have a number of folks who have volunteered in the past, and I truthfully have not reached out to all of you yet, but know that I will be. And for anyone here at this meeting that would like to put their hat in the ring for hosting, we need a host for June 2011, and I would be happy to talk with you. There are a number of other folks here who have hosted a meeting in the past and can give you some ideas about what it takes and the actual benefits of hosting NANOG, which I think are huge. NANOG 53, October 2011. Again, this would be a back-to-back meeting with Aaron. We're working with Comcast right now and a hotel, the Lowe's in Philly again. The issue, truthfully, that we have with that meeting venue is in October 2011, the group called EduCause will also be in Philadelphia with us. So it's making it a little bit more tricky to deal with the hotel contract. We have a contract, we have some space, but again, it's one of those issues that we're working through, so I don't want to publish dates, and I don't want you to hold us to it, but again, so that you know we're working quite a bit into the future. Ren? Yes, yes. It is approved. We have hotel issues, but yes, Comcast definitely is committed to hosting us, as is Terramark. The election process. I was asked to add a few slides and make a few comments to all of you about how the fall election process works, just so that we're all on the same page. When we did the evolution/revolution a few years ago, it was certainly a recognized need on the part of Merit to move from a Merit completely managed program and a set of activities to a partnership with the community. And I think in large part it works really, really well. But because it is a partnership, sometimes there's issues. There's the tension of the financial constraints that we deal with and the fluidity of the need of the program committee and the community to be a lot more flexible. So sometimes there's challenges. One of the things that we at Merit hold completely to or as our guiding principle for working with all of you is the charter. That's sort of like the line in the sand, if you will. It speaks to what all of you want us to do. And us being the steering committee, the program committee, the mail list committee, and Merit on your behalf. And so as you look at the election process, think about the charter and the ballot changes that are up there. One of the things that is in the charter, which is important to us at Merit in upholding the transparency or independence of the process, is that we at Merit run the election process on your behalf. What I do prior to June, it's about May, June time frame, but prior to the June meeting, is actually submit a timeline to the NANOG SC chair, which says, hey, Joe, I think we need to follow this timeline of process to get the elections complete per the charter. The charter mandates certain things happen at certain times. So I take the responsibility of pushing that to Joe or the SC chair and say, you know, you need to bless this. We need to get everybody on the same page. And then we leave it to the we do try to get on the same page as what we're going to do when and by who, and we post that on the webpage. So if you go to the elections page, you'll see all of those dates that we committed to back in May. And then the SC chair posts the information about the elections. And so that the election process isn't ran just by the SC chair or by merit, we solicit a lot of people to participate in the committee process, in the election process. So it's not just something that the SC is driving, not something that merit is driving or the MLC, but it really is a partnership on your behalf. And that's why Steve will talk about and he champions the actual charter amendments. As the process for voting takes place, we have another group of programmers back at Merit, again using the NANOG registration database that we finally got in place many meetings ago, as the mechanism to validate who's eligible to vote per the charter. So again, we put logic into the database that says, per the charter, these people are eligible to vote, and that produces then the eligible voters page. It's all driven by the database. It's not anything anybody arbitrarily puts names on. It's all by the charter based on what's in the database, based on attendance information. We agree on when the elections are going to open, and we agree on when the elections are going to close. And then what I do is simply announce the results of the election. The challenge has been for this meeting, which is a little bit of a moving target, is when does NANOG officially close? In the past, NANOG, when we, prior evolution time, we had a 2.5-day meeting. That's what we always had. And we moved to having a 3-day meeting. All of, or a number of folks in the community really wanted to stretch out the program, so we went to a 3-day meeting, except for the fall. And we have a 2.5-day meeting in the fall. So the question this year was, when do we announce elections? Do we announce elections at the end of the official NANOG program on Tuesday, or do we announce it at the end of the joint program with Aaron on Wednesday? In the past, we did it on Tuesday. This year, since it really is a joint program on Wednesday, and even though we technically, NANOG, do not have real hotel or contract space because our program ends on Tuesday, we did agree and work together, and the election results will be posted and announced on Wednesday. And so voting will stay open an extra little bit till Wednesday morning, 9:15. And that's the process. I guess I should add, that's how the voting occurs. What I do when I announce the election results, in advance we already have scheduled a new SC and existing SC dinner, so we have the benefit of transfer of knowledge from the current SC members that are leaving, meeting with the new SC members, and the SC meets very quickly to look at the results of nominations for the program committee so that they can appoint a new chair of the SC and appoint a program committee. And then the program committee meets and works pretty quickly to elect a new chair if needed, because as you've heard many times tonight, it takes a lot to get a call for presentation going and a new program going quickly, and we have to move quickly through the process to make that all work. So Merit is really the logistics provider and the announcer. We're really not running the community election. It really is something for you. The SC doesn't run it, the PC doesn't run it. The community determines the election process through the charter. So that's my pitch. Vote, vote, vote. Anybody have any questions for me? Okay, Steve.
So this is the really fun part of the meeting. It's like reading, I don't know, bills in Congress or something like that. It's not as bad as the health care bill, though. There are 3 charter amendments on the ballot this time. None of them are really thrilling. They're all intended to fix little things or make some things a bit more clear. First one allows for concurrent membership by an individual on both the mailing list and program committees. That's what it says there, nothing more than that. The logic behind it was that it might make the MLC job a bit more desirable for people. It's one of those things that no one, I know, really jumps out and says, I want to be on the mailing list committee. Of course, we'd love it if you did, but this way, if you had to choose, you wouldn't have to choose. Number two is also intended to help a bit with recruiting, but also to take into account a longer-term goal we've had for quite some time, and that is to make NANOG more than just the mailing list and the conference. We have this thing called the Internet now that we can use for communications. There's Facebook and Twitter and, I don't know, all sorts of other things that people tell me exist. My children tell me all about it anyway. The goal here is to expand the duties a bit of the mailing list committee to take into account those other forms of electronic communication. Changing the name, of course, is one thing. Communications committee also just sounds cool. So that's this one. The third one is just a simple clarification of text in the charter that specifically allows that any member of the NANOG community, which basically means anybody who can send an email, can nominate SC candidates. Right now, the charter is a bit vague on that, and different people have been interpreting it different ways. So we want to remove the vagueness. And that's really it. Those are your 3 charter amendments. Read them, vote however you like on them, and Betty will tell us at the end how they work out. Thanks.
Cool. Hi. Thanks. So we're running up against the clock, and we have, out of all the candidates, I did see that 7 were registered, and I did see most of them in the room. So we're just going to run through these alphabetically. So Steve's going to have to actually get up and talk again. But we're going to see how many of the folks in the room can give us a couple minutes of statements as to why you should vote for them for the SC. Steve?
Well, aside from my wonderful work on charter amendments, I've been concerned mainly about a few of the major challenges that face NANOG and will always face NANOG. First one, of course, is we need to stay relevant to the community. We have to decide what the community is first, of course, that we're going to stay relevant to. And then make sure through our selections of venues and especially the program committee and the communications or mailing list committees that we are moving in the right directions. Transparency is always important. We need to make sure that what we're doing up here is visible to everyone else so that you see that we're doing a good job, or if we're not, then you vote us out. And third, and perhaps most important, is the whole issue of building a stable business model so that we can keep doing this for years to come and we don't run out of money or start having to charge $10,000 a head for admission. So what Patrick and the marketing committee have been doing is very important along there. So if I'm reelected, I will continue working on all this, and that's it. Thanks.
Thanks, Steve. Hank Gilmore, I didn't see registered at the beginning of this session, so unless he stands up right now and runs towards the microphone. Okay. Dorian was registered, but I didn't see him in the room. Is he around? Dorian? Going once? Going twice? Sold. Sylvie was registered, but I didn't see her in the room earlier either. That would be a no. Okay, Mike Lucking, I know, is here. I saw him. He's sitting right there. Thanks for sponsoring a future meeting.
I'm Michael Lucking with Telex. I've been involved in the NANOG community for well over 10 years, more. Telex, my employer, we've hosted one NANOG in Brooklyn last year. We're hosting in Atlanta next year. Seeing the inner workings of that and dealing with all that. I'd like to sort of reach more into NANOG and aid where I can.
Thanks, Mike. And similarly, CQ, I saw you in the room, Mr. Quesada.
Hi, I'm Christopher Quesada from Switching Data, and We have also hosted a NANOG 34 in Seattle, which you all enjoyed, and many of evening galas and get-togethers. So we continue to put some of those together for you guys, and I think they're very important because it brings the community together in a social event as well as not only the community conference. If chosen for this position, it's kind of my goal to look at making NANOGs easier for you to attend. One of the things that I would probably look at is some form of yearly sponsoring where a company could come in with multiple employees and go through the whole year and cut a check to Merit for one whole entire year. Some companies, that's actually very easy for them to do. So I won't take up any more time. Thanks.
Thanks, CQ. Tom Vest, I also didn't see registered before the meeting started, so unless he showed up suddenly, I don't see him. All right. Dwayne Wessels, I saw you in the room. There you are.
Well, I wish I'd known that it was an option to not be in the room. So I'm proud to have been nominated for the steering committee. Thank you very much. I must admit that I don't have any, at this point, have any strong opinions or plans or anything like that for, what the steering committee should be doing or shouldn't be doing. I'll tell you a little bit about my background. I'm not a network operator. I'm kind of a researcher and tool guy. I started coming to NANOGs to present research on web caching, and these days I'm very much focused on DNS. I think it's also cool that I have the longest affiliation up there, taking 2 whole lines. So that's about it for me. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dwayne. Yeah, Alicia was also registered, but I didn't see her in the room. Is she? Did I just miss her? Okay, then. What? Vote. Yeah. So, no, that was me saying, okay, then not having to sit there and be out of the way of the candidates and saying, I don't want to be in the way of the social. So this is a reminder, vote, vote, vote. Have a good time at the social and everything. And I'm going to move out of Betty's way and also say survey, survey, survey later in the meeting.
I want to apologize. I meant to take a moment in my introduction slides and also recognize that Susan R. Harris is here at this meeting. For many of you who have been going to NANOGs for a long time, you'll remember that Susan chaired the NANOG program committee for a number of years and then worked with us during the evolution process before she left Merit. And I just want to acknowledge her and thank her for all of her time at NANOG and really appreciate her coming back. So just to let you all know she's here, make sure you stop by and say thank you and hi. Joe thinks we're done, so just... Oh, yeah, you guys got questions? Really, this is your meeting, so we don't mean to rush you off. No?
It's actually not a bad...
Not a problem, Betty.
Not a problem.
Not a problem.
But buses will be out front. There's information. At 7:45, they'll run every 15 minutes to go to the social. It'll be a really great time. I hope you join us there. See you later.